welcome to today's video lecture. In today's video lecture, I'll be solving previous year's NEET questions and discussing the answers, okay? And this is for the chapter Reproductive Health, okay? And we are in part 1 of the series, all right? So let's begin. Okay, so question number 1. In context of amniocentesis, which of the following statements is incorrect? Okay, and this appeared in NEET 2016. So we have to find the incorrect statement, which is the answer. A. It can be used for detection of Down syndrome. B. It can be used for detection of cleft palate. C. It is usually done when a woman is between 14 to 16 weeks pregnant. And D. It is used for prenatal sex determination. Okay, so the incorrect statement here is B. Okay, it is not used for detection of cleft palate. So then we'll come to the discussion and we'll discuss the answer. So yeah, correct answer is B. All right, so if you got B, you've got the right answer. Let's go to the discussion. So amniocentesis is a deliberate puncture of the amniotic fluid sac per abdomen. Okay, so this is the medical definition for amniocentesis. All right, this is the medical definition for amniocentesis. If you like, you can note this down in your books. So now what happens? It is done at 15 to 20 weeks. Over there it says 14 to 16 weeks. Basically during the early months of pregnancy. Okay, now 15 to 20 weeks. This information is also taken from a medical textbook. Datta, the author's name is Datta, and it's a textbook on obstetrics. So if you want, you can refer to that, but I would suggest you don't waste your time on that. Just focus on the answers given here. It'll save you time, right? So it is done at 15 to 20 weeks. And this is also the definition taken from the textbook written by Datta. Okay. Now, what does amniocentesis do? Okay. First is chromosomal and genetic disorders are detected. Okay, so sex-linked disorders, karyotyping is also done, inborn errors of metabolism, neurotube defects, all these situations, genetic defects or anything like that, they can be tested. Karyotyping can also be done. You can see the whole chromosome. Yeah, this is only one of the advantages of doing amniocentesis. And this is done the early months. Now, if amniocentesis is ever done during the later months, what is it done? What does it do? It is done to check fetal maturity. Okay, so when the respiration, the lungs of the fetus are developed properly, it's checked. Okay, that's fetal maturity. Then degree of fetal hemolysis of RH sensitized mother. Okay, and meconium staining of liquor. Now, degree of fetal hemolysis of RH sensitized mother, you know what we're talking about. We're talking about erythroblastosis fetalis or hemolytic disease of the newborn. Okay, so if a situation where the mother is RH negative and her second baby is RH positive, then it proves to be a problem. Okay, I've already explained this in much detail in body fluids and circulation, so please go check that out. All right. Then you have meconium staining of liquor. Now, meconium is the first stool that the fetus releases. Okay, it defecates. So if what they do is they take out a sample of the amniotic fluid that's inside, they perform amniocentesis, and if they see the meconium staining of liquor of the amniotic fluid, that is, it is an evidence of fetal distress. Okay, that means there could be a problematic situation. Now, cleft palate and cleft lip are seen on the ultrasound. Okay, so if there's a situation where the fetus has a cleft palate or a cleft lip, it can be seen in the ultrasound. You don't need to perform amniocentesis for that. Okay, that is why B was the right answer there. It is actually an incorrect statement for amniocentesis. The other situations, yes, that was all correct. And if you want, you can note this down. You know exactly where amniocentesis is applied. All right. If we go back to our question, so it can be used for detection of cleft palate, which is actually incorrect, but it is actually the right answer. We have to find the incorrect statement here. The remaining A, C and D are correct. Okay. All right, let's move on then. Okay, so here is a diagram of the amniocentesis procedure. Okay, so what you see with the help of an ultrasound, okay, you can see the fetus position, okay, on the screen there, and a puncture is made into the amniotic sac, okay, to extract amniotic fluid from that. Okay, so basically this is what's happening. This is how it's done. Alright, so I thought I'll put a diagram there so that you can understand this in more detail. Alright, let's move on then. Okay, so question number 2. Which of the following cannot be detected in a developing fetus by amniocentesis? Okay, this appeared in NEET 2013. You have A, Down syndrome, B, jaundice, you have C, Klinefelter syndrome, and sex of the fetus, that's D. Okay, so which cannot be detected? Okay, so Down syndrome can be detected, it's a genetic disorder. Klinefelter also. Sex of the fetus also can be detected because karyotyping is done through that, so you know whether it's a male or a female. So the answer here is B. Okay, jaundice cannot be detected through amniocentesis. So your answer is B. Yeah, so jaundice cannot be detected by amniocentesis. I've already discussed amniocentesis in detail over there, so please go check that out. Okay, simple. Let's move on then. Okay, so question number 3. The permissible use of the technique amniocentesis is for, and this appeared in 2010, detecting sex of the unborn fetus, B, artificial insemination, C, transfer of embryo into the uterus of a surrogate mother, D, detecting any genetic abnormality. Okay, so again another question on amniocentesis. Now, permissible use of the technique. Okay, so in India, you can't use amniocentesis, for reasons that it can give you the result, but you shouldn't be using this lawfully. Okay, and one of the reason is detecting sex of the unborn fetus. Or along with that, if you have read the chapter Reproductive Health, you will understand that determining sex of the unborn fetus is illegal practice in India because there are many social reasons for that, and it's all mentioned there in the book. So I would suggest you go through the chapter. So it's not the permissible use, although you can find the answer, okay, but it is not a lawful use, it's unethical. So sorry, A is the wrong answer. Artificial insemination, no, that's not this. Artificial insemination, what are you going to do with that amniocentesis? So that's incorrect. Transfer of embryo into the uterus, no, not really. Detecting any genetic abnormality, yes, that is the permissible use. Okay, it's a lawful use of using amniocentesis. Okay, so the answer is B. So the permissible use of amniocentesis is for detecting any genetic abnormality. All right. Obviously, like I said, gender, sex of the fetus can be determined through amniocentesis, but it is not done in India. Okay, it's an illegal practice. Okay, let's move on then. I think I discussed which year. Yeah, so it appeared in 2010. Okay, we've answered this question. Yeah, so there's a ban on determining sex of the fetus by the method of amniocentesis. Okay, so if a doctor is performing that, that's illegal. All right, let's move on. Question number 4. Fetal sex can be determined by examining cells from the amniotic fluid by looking for, this appeared in 1997. So you have A, chiasmata, B, kinetochore, C, Barr bodies, and D, autosomes. Okay, fetal sex can be determined by examining cells from the amniotic fluid by looking for Barr bodies. Okay, we'll come to what Barr bodies is. Answer is C. Okay, so in females, there are 2 X chromosomes in females, right? Now, one of them is inactive. okay, and condenses to form a heterochromatin. Okay, it's like a ball like structure, okay, that's eventually formed. Okay, so one of them, the inactive X chromosome, becomes a heterochromatin. A structure lies under the nuclear membrane, okay, and it is called as sex chromatin because of its association with sex, and is also called Barr body. Okay, in neurons it forms a rounded mass lying next to the nucleolus and is called nucleolar satellite. And in neutrophils it appears as an isolated round mass to the rest of the nucleus by a narrow band appearing like a drumstick. Okay, so there are three places where you can see these Barr bodies. Okay, and Barr bodies are exclusive for females. Okay, so this is your nucleus. Okay, so this arrow pointed here, okay, this is the heterochromatin, this is the Barr body. Okay, this is the Barr body. So if you see that, you know that it belongs to a female. Okay, it's exclusive for females. So structure that lies underneath the nuclear membrane. Okay, and then in neurons, okay, it forms a rounded mass here. You can see the structure sticking out over here. It forms a rounded mass lying next to the nucleolus and is called nucleolar satellite. Okay, and in the case of neutrophils, okay, neutrophils, you see this drumstick, it's called a drumstick like structure, which looks like a drumstick, I guess. Whoever named it. Okay, it appears like a drumstick, and it's an isolated mass. Okay, it's not really inside. Okay, so it's jutting out. Okay, in neutrophils you can see this Barr body over here. Okay, and they're exclusively for females. Okay, and you can see this structure. Okay, so yeah, this is the definition of Barr body. So if they ever ask you any question related to Barr body, you know the answer. Okay, let's move on then. Okay, question number 5. Which of the following contraceptive methods involve a role of hormone? Okay, and this appeared in NEET 2019. You have A, pills, emergency contraceptives, barrier methods. Okay, no, that's incorrect. Well, barrier methods don't use hormones. B, lactational amenorrhea. Okay, pills, emergency contraceptives. Yes. Okay. B. C, barrier methods, lactational amenorrhea, pills. No, again incorrect. If copper T, pills, emergency contraceptive. No, that copper T doesn't use hormones. So the answer is B. Okay, let's go to the discussion. So lactational amenorrhea occurs in lactating mothers. Okay, and what happens during that? So regular lactation for 6 months delays ovulation and pregnancy. It was found that women who are lactating their babies for 6 months exclusively, it's done, they don't ovulate during that time, and so during coitus obviously you will not get a fertilized egg, but there's no ovulation. Okay, so instead eventually there is no pregnancy. Okay, so it delays ovulation and pregnancy. Now what exactly happens is that, you know, the gonadotropin releasing hormone is a pulsatile secretion. I already discussed this in human reproduction, right? So it secretes in a pulse frequency format. Okay, now this is disrupted during lactational period. Okay, and it affects the secretion of LH, and hence ovulation does not occur. So, you know, in a normal menstrual cycle, there's an LH surge, right, during ovulation, just before ovulation, which eventually allows for ovulation to happen. If LH surge did not happen, ovulation will not happen. But if gonadotropin releasing hormone is not being secreted properly, you know, the usual pulsatile frequency that it has of secreting from the hypothalamus, LH will not secrete, and so there'll be no ovulation, and so there'll be no pregnancy. Okay, so this is one of the methods which involves hormones, and it's like a contraceptive. Okay, now emergency contraceptives include emergency pills containing levonorgestrel. You can all learn these words. Okay, copper IUD within 5 days of accidental unprotected exposure. So emergency pills are used, copper IUD that's used, and progesterone receptor modulators are used, okay, that binds competitively to progesterone receptors, and thus they nullify the endogenous, that means the body that the progesterone that the body is producing, okay. So the progesterone that is being produced by the body is not effective, okay. So because these progesterone receptors then bind to it and block those the modulators, they block the progesterone receptors. Morning after pill contain levonorgestrel and ethinyl estradiol. The newly pristyle acetate is a progesterone receptor modulator again. It suppresses the follicular endometrial growth and it delays ovulation and inhibits implantation. Now, these are emergency contraceptives. Okay, they are emergency contraceptives. You should use that only in emergency cases, right? How do they work now? Ovulation is prevented if taken at the beginning of the cycle. Fertilization is prevented, that's how they work. Implantation is prevented as the endometrium is unfavorable. Corpus luteum function is interfered or causes luteolysis. So I have not discussed pills in this, okay. These are emergency contraceptives, alright. Pills I have discussed later on, so I'll come to that later. We are going to repeat the same information again, right? So just focus. Now you've understood lactational amenorrhea. Now look at emergency contraceptives that are available, okay. Now basically contraceptives, whether you're talking about hormonal pills, they basically tend to manipulate the menstrual cycle in such a way that either there's no ovulation happening or the estrogen or the progesterone receptors are blocked, okay. Either two ways. Or of course there is copper IUD, which is not really a hormonal use, but yes, copper also plays a role, okay, in suppressing the sperm motility, okay. So that's another way. So there are, now we've understood the normal menstrual cycle and how a woman can get pregnant, right? But now to avoid that, what are the different ways that you can come around this situation, okay. Either you block the receptors, or you avoid ovulation, or you use IUD methods, like copper T, use with the help of copper ions, okay. So now we've seen emergency pills containing levonorgestrel, which is another like a synthetic form of progesterone. So now somebody who is taking high amounts of progesterone or estrogen, okay, there are combined pills also, there are progesterone only pills also, depending on the situation. Of course you have to consult a doctor for this, okay. And it's a prescription drug. The high amount of progesterone and the estrogen levels in your body, they tend to suppress ovulation. So ovulation is prevented if taken at the beginning of the cycle, okay. So the feedback loop is being affected in this way. It's not allowing for ovulation to happen, okay. The feedback loop is being affected. So fertilization is prevented, of course, like copper IUD. If ovulation is not happening, then obviously there will be no pregnancy. At the same time, if you're using copper ID or copper ions, which avoid fertilization to happen, it does not affect ovulation, but it affects fertilization. So you need to understand at what stages, okay, can these contraceptives impede or don't allow for a successful pregnancy to take place. Either suppression of ovulation is taking place, or suppression of sperms are taking place, or implantation is not happening. So you have ulipristal acetate, okay, and we'll also come to centchromin, okay, and that's an estrogen modulator, receptor modulator. So in this case, it's a progesterone receptor modulator, where progesterone receptors are blocked, okay. It's another way of approaching this, okay. Either you have high levels of progesterone, that's one way of doing it to suppress ovulation, or you just block the receptors, all right. And so of course, if you block the progesterone receptors, it suppresses follicular and endometrial growth, okay. So that way implantation is prevented as the endometrium is unfavorable. Also corpus luteum function will be interfered, okay, and cause luteolysis. Okay, so there are different emergency contraceptives. I made a list here. Okay, of course most of them involve some kind of hormone use. Copper IUD does not use hormones. Okay, and progesterone receptor modulator, so it's only suppressing the receptors, right? It's not really creating a change in the levels of hormones in that. All right, so based on your body type or what the doctor suggests, you have to use those emergency contraceptives accordingly. Okay, so clear. And I'll come to hormonal pills later on, birth control pills, that is later on. But for now, you need to know what are the emergency contraceptives. That's why I've made this list here, okay? But if you go back to our question, yeah, sorry. So, which of the following contraceptive methods involve the role of hormone? Obviously, this copper T is incorrect. There are emergency contraceptives that use hormones, and lactational amenorrhea also uses hormones, and there are pills also, birth control pills also, that you have to take on a regular basis, which involve the use of hormone. Okay, let's move on then. Question number 6. Select the hormone releasing intrauterine devices. Okay, and this appeared in NEET 2019. A. Lips loop multi-load 375, B. Waltz LNG 20, C. Multi-load 375 Progestasert, and D. Progestasert LNG 20. Okay, so you're looking for the intrauterine devices. So lips loop, no, lips loop is not an IUD. So that's incorrect. Waltz LNG to Waltz is not an IUD. Multi-load 375 and Progestasert or Progestasert and LNG 20. So we're looking for the hormone releasing. Please read the question properly. Okay, so it is Progestasert and LNG 20. Okay, the answer is D. Now we look at the different intrauterine devices. So this is what an LNG looks like. LNG 20 is also known as levonorgestrel IUS. Okay, and it is a T-shaped device with a dimethylsiloxane membrane around it, which acts as a steroid reservoir. So total amount of levonorgestrel is 52 mg and is released at the rate of 20 microgram per day. Okay, so levonorgestrel is there in this IUD. Okay, and it is secreted, okay, at the rate of 20 micrograms per day. So it's a total of 52 mg in that. So the device is replaced every 7 years, and it induces strong and uniform suppression of the endometrium. Cervical mucus becomes also very scanty. Okay, so these are the different two, which induces a strong and uniform suppression of the endometrium, and also the cervical mucus becomes very scanty. Okay, the sperms are not able to survive there. It doesn't allow implantation to happen. It doesn't allow fertilization to happen. Okay. Now Progestasert, it is a progesterone containing IUD. So 38 milligrams of progesterone is present in that. So this is what it looks like. I've put a diagram here. Again, I've taken this from textbook of obstetrics sorry, and the author is Datta. So this is the information for LNG 20 and Progestasert. Okay, I didn't have a diagram, a photo of Progestasert, but I had for LNG 20. Okay, so then basically it just contains progesterone in it, and progesterone is secreted out. Okay, so this is a type of IUD, intrauterine device. So you have copper T also, which is also like an IUD. This is also an IUD, but what is the difference? Now, the LNG20 and progestasert are hormone releasing IUDs. They're not copper releasing IUDs. Now, we'll come to what copper releasing IUDs are later on. But copper also plays a role, like I said. And hormones also play a role. Like I said, the birth control pills, how hormones levels are changed, right? In that. Similarly, LNG20 like type of IUDs also play like a role like that, where, where hormones are secreted out and they in turn suppress. Like I said, they have a uniform suppression of endometrium, and the cervical mucus also becomes scanty, so it becomes very difficult for fertilization to take place, for an implantation to take place. Eventually pregnancy is avoided in such a situation. Okay, so if we go back to our question, select the hormone releasing IUD, that's progestasert and LNG20. Please read the question carefully. Okay, if they said copper releasing IUD, then it would be a different situation, okay, depending on the options available. But here they said specifically hormone releasing IUDs. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so question number 7. Which of the following is a correct statement? This appeared in Orissa NEET 2019. IUDs once inserted need not be replaced. B. IUDs are generally inserted by the user herself. C. IUDs increase phagocytosis of sperm in the uterus. And D. IUDs suppress gametogenesis. Okay, so which of the following is a correct statement? So inserted once IUDs are inserted need not be replaced. That's untrue. You need to replace them. IUDs are generally inserted by the user. No, that's incorrect. IUDs increase phagocytosis of sperms in the uterus. Yes, that's correct. IUDs suppress gametogenesis. No, nothing. It does not affect gametogenesis. So the answer is C. Okay. In IUDs, lysosomal disintegration from the macrophages attached to the device liberate prostaglandins, which are toxic to sperms. Okay, so in these IUDs, this is some lysosomal disintegration that takes place from the macrophages that are attached to the device, and what they do, they liberate prostaglandins. Okay, these macrophages liberate prostaglandins, which are toxic to the sperms. Now, the macrophages causes phagocytosis of sperms eventually, and they may also increase tubal mobility, which prevent fertilization of ovum. Now, tubal mobility, that means they the fallopian tube. We're talking about the fallopian tube. So the mobility, that means the movement of the fallopian tube is more. Okay, so the oocyte moves faster. Obviously, it's not an ovum. There's no fertilization take place. So the oocyte moves faster. So there's no time for fertilization to take place. Okay, so there's no fertilization. The endometrial inflammatory response also decreases sperm transport and impedes the ability of sperms to fertilize. Okay, so they decrease the sperm transport, and also they don't allow they also don't allow the sperms to fertilize. Okay. So if I go back to our question, how do they increase phagocytosis of sperms in the uterus? I've already explained that. I've also explained other situations. Also, the tubal mobility is also affected, and then there's an endometrial inflammatory response also. Okay, so if you want, you can note this down, right? Let's move on then. Okay, so question number 8. The contraceptive Saheli, and this appeared in NEET 2018. A. Blocks estrogen receptors in the uterus, preventing eggs from getting implanted. B. Increases the concentration of estrogen and prevents ovulation in females. C is an IUD. D is a postcoital contraceptive. Okay. So the contraceptive Saheli actually blocks estrogen receptors. I've already explained that to you previously when we spoke about emergency contraceptives, where there were progesterone receptor modulators which block progesterone receptors to not allow the produced progesterone in the body to attach to it, right? So Saheli is a type of, it's a non-steroidal contraceptive which blocks estrogen receptors in the uterus, okay, that prevents the eggs from getting implanted. We will come to this in detail. It increases the concentration of estrogen. No, that's incorrect. It's a non-steroidal. Okay, is an IUD? No. Is a postcoital contraceptive? No. So the answer is A. So Saheli is a centchromin, also known as ormeloxifene. You can note this down. Okay, and it's a non-steroidal compound, okay, with potent anti-estrogenic effects. Okay, and it is taken orally 30, that is 30 milligrams twice a week for 3 months, and then after that once a week. Now what it does is it prevents implantation of fertilized ovum. So it's not inhibiting ovulation. Okay, ovulation is happening just as it is. Okay, but it does not allow the implantation of the morula. Okay, the blastocyst that's formed, not the morula, right? Okay, the blastocyst and all, and so because of that, pregnancy does not take place. Okay, because it's blocking the estrogen receptor that are required for the implantation, successful implantation to take place. Okay, so it's non-steroidal that way. There are no steroids present in that. There are only modulators which block the receptors. Okay, like I told you, there are different ways by which these contraceptives have been created, okay, to come around the whole normal situation of menstrual cycle and pregnancy. That's why it's important to understand what a normal situation is to be able to go around it and create a product that will prevent these things from happening if you want to avoid it, obviously in a safe and a healthy manner. But yeah, that's how it works. And of course there are side effects also for every drug that you take. So yeah, in this case, Saheli, it prevents implantation of fertilized ovum, and it does not inhibit ovulation. Please remember that. Also, one more thing, that Saheli was actually produced by CDRI, okay, in Hyderabad. I think the headquarters are. Okay, so it's an Indian product, made in India product, produced in India product. So we should be proud of our scientists for coming up with this. Okay, and yeah, so clearly answer A, so the option A is the correct answer. Okay, it blocks estrogen receptors in the uterus, preventing eggs from getting implanted. Okay, it's not used as an emergency contraceptive because you have to follow that. Okay, it has to be taken twice a week for 3 months and then once a week, obviously under your doctor's instructions. And how does it work? It prevents implantation of fertilized ovum, okay, but does not inhibit ovulation. Okay, question number 9. The function of copper ions in copper releasing IUDs is, and this appeared in NEET 2017. They inhibit gametogenesis? No, they don't affect gametogenesis anyway. They make uterus unsuitable for implantation? No, that's not how the copper ions function. They inhibit ovulation? No. They suppress sperm motility and fertilizing capacity of sperms? Yes. Oh, sorry. So the answer is D. Okay, that's how copper ions function in IUDs. Okay, we'll go to this in detail. So again, I've already discussed this. What happens is there's lysosomal disintegration from the macrophages that are attached to the device, okay, and they liberate prostaglandins, okay, and that are toxic to the sperm. So this macrophages actually cause phagocytosis of sperms. How do they do that? I've already explained this over here. Okay, they may also increase tubal mobility, okay, which prevents fertilization, and they also carry out an inflammatory response, okay, in the endometrial, which decreases sperm transport and impedes the ability of sperms to fertilize. In your NCRT, it says just sperm mobility is decreased and fertilization does not happen with the help of sperms. But how does that? How does the copper ions affect that? Yeah, there's endometrial inflammatory response there, okay, which decreases this. Now, additional function of copper ions, and I would suggest that you note this down in your notebooks, okay, but this is an important function of the copper ions is to prevent implantation of blastocyst, okay, through enzymatic interference. Okay, so the copper ions release cytokines which are cytotoxic, okay, they're cytotoxic to the blastocyst, and they also help in a way to prevent implantation. okay, in the uterus of the blastocyst. Okay, so this is an additional function of copper ions, so in copper T, IUDs, that is. So yeah, this is how it works, and this will also come later on one of the questions, so I'll suggest you note this down. This additional function of copper ions, okay, but I've mostly answered that, and it's also mentioned in NEET. They suppress sperm motility and fertilizing capacity of sperms, and it's obviously appeared in NEET 2017. So yeah, that's the answer. Let's move on. Okay, so question number 10. Which of the following is a hormone releasing IUD? Okay, hormone releasing. I've already discussed hormone and copper releasing IUDs. So they are asking for hormone releasing IUDs, and this appeared in NEET 2016. In NCERT, there's a list of all the different types of IUDs available. Okay, so I would suggest you note this down. Okay, so you have A LNG20, multi-loop, B multi-loop 375, C Lips loop, and D CU7. So hormone releasing IUDs are A LNG20. Okay, so the answer is A. So discussion. LNG20, levonorgestrel, is a hormone releasing IUD. Oops. I've already discussed LNG20 in much detail before in the beginning questions, so that's why I've not discussed this over here in detail. But yeah, it contains levonorgestrel, and that is secreted. Okay, there's 20 micrograms per day, and yeah, please go back and see that answer. All right, I think yeah, the other B, C, and D are incorrect. They're not hormone releasing IUDs, so it's LNG20. Okay, let's move on then. Question number 11. Which of the following is incorrect regarding vasectomy? And this appeared in NEET 2016. Okay, now talking about vasectomy here, and to find the incorrect statement. No sperm occurs in seminal fluid. No sperm occurs in epididymis. C. Vasa differentia is cut and tied. D. Irreversible sterility. Okay. So, which of the following is incorrect over here? No sperm occurs in epididymis. That's the right answer. That's the incorrect statement actually over here. So, the answer is B. Now, what is actually vasectomy? Okay, it's a surgical procedure done in males, okay, wherein a segment of the vas deferens is cut and the cut ends are ligated. Okay, so this is what it looks like. This diagram is taken from NCERT. So this can appear in the exam. They'll show you this diagram and ask you, what is this, right? Or they might ask you a question related to this procedure. Okay, so we have the vas deferens are cut, okay, and the cut ends are then tied up, okay, they're ligated. It is a permanent sterilization procedure, okay, and the sperms will be present in the epididymis. Now what we are doing is we are cutting the vas deferens. So now when the sperms that are present here move up, okay, it will not go into this vas deferens, okay, into the urethra eventually. Okay, so we don't want the sperms. Our whole job is to avoid sperms to go into this and mix with the semen, right, that is coming from the seminal vesicles and so on, from the Cowper's gland and all that. But in our question it said that the sperms will be present, what was it? No sperms occur in epididymis, which is incorrect. The sperms will be present in the epididymis. What happens in vasectomy is the vas deferens are cut. Vas. Just think of it as this way. Vas means vas deferens are cut, and that happens in males. Vas deferens is present in males, not in females, right? Females is tubectomy. We'll come to that later. But in vas deferens is cut. So what happens when sperm production is taking place? It's not affecting sperm production in any way. It's just that we're cutting the tube that is transporting the sperms into the urethra, okay, which is mixing with the semen, okay, the fluid that's secreted out from the seminal vesicles and the prostate gland and the Cowper's gland and all of that, which we have already discussed that in human reproduction, the normal physiology behind it. But now what we're doing is we're cutting only the vas deferens, not the epididymis. The epididymis containing the sperms. We need to understand the order with which, now you get that, we need to understand the order with which the sperms are moving, right, on the testes into the vas deferens and all that. So for that you need to understand what is the order of the movement of sperms till it reaches urethra and mixes with the semen. Okay, so in this case, sperms are present in epidermis, so that is incorrect regarding vasectomy. The rest of it is obviously true, A, C, and D. There's no sperm occurs in seminal fluid. Yes, we know that. Vas deferens is cut and tied. Yes, irreversible. Sterility. Yes, that's true. Okay, it's only B which is incorrect. Okay. Yeah. So clear? We'll move on then. Question number 12. Which of the following approaches does not give the defined action of contraceptives? Apparently, 2016. A. Hormonal contraceptives. We have to find the approach that does not give the defined action. Okay. So, hormonal contraceptives prevent or retard entry of sperms, prevent ovulation and fertilization. A. Vasectomy prevents spermatogenesis. Now, that's incorrect. So actually B is the right answer. It does not give the defined function of the contraceptives. Barrier methods prevent fertilization. Yes. Intrauterine device increase phagocytosis of sperms, suppress sperm motility and fertilizing capacity of sperm. So clearly B is the right answer. This was pretty simple, easy to catch, right? And also we discussed vasectomy. So the answer is B. So vasectomy is a surgical procedure. Yes, we know that. It plays no role in preventing spermatogenesis. Spermatogenesis happens as it is. Okay, we're just cutting the tube which is transporting the sperms. That's all that we're doing. We're not in any way impeding or affecting spermatogenesis in any way. All right, sperms are being produced, but they will not be then transported up, okay, into the vas deferens. Okay, clear? This was pretty simple, I think. Yeah, B is the right answer. It does not give the defined action. Let's move on. Okay, question number 13. Tubectomy is a method of sterilization in which, and this appeared in 2014, A. Small part of the fallopian tube is removed or tied up. B. Ovaries are removed surgically. C. Small part of the vas deferens is removed or tied up. D. Uterus is removed surgically. So uterus is not removed surgically in that small vas deferens. No, that does not happen in females. Ovaries are also not removed. So it is A. Okay, small part of the fallopian tube is removed or tied up. Okay, so tubectomy and vasectomy. Think of it as this way. Tubectomy, you're talking about fallopian tubes. Okay, which occurs in females, and vasectomy is the surgical procedure that is cutting the vas deferens. Okay, that happens in males. So the answer is A. Okay, so here you have a procedure, diagram of the procedure where tubectomy has happened. This is again taken from NCERT, so you should be familiar with this. Okay, so fallopian tubes are tied. They cut and tied them, yeah, like this. So tubectomy is a surgical procedure wherein a segment of the fallopian tubes on both sides is cut and the cut ends are ligated. It is a permanent sterilization technique. Oops. And of course, it does not affect oogenesis in any way. Oogenesis happening because ovaries are still present there. We are only cutting the tube which is transporting that oocyte or the fertilized, ovum there. So there's no way that oocyte can reach there. There's no way the sperms can reach there. So the oocytes and the sperm cannot meet for fertilization to take place. Okay. So you see another way by which we are, of course, this is a surgical procedure. This is not some, taking a tablet, okay, and, waiting for magic to happen in any way. But this is a surgical procedure in which you are cutting the tube, you're cutting the transport that is needed for the oocyte and the sperm to meet. Okay, in vas deferens also you're cutting that tube where the sperm would be eventually transported to the urethra, but we are avoiding that. So this is another way by which contraceptive methods are being applied in today's world. Okay, and to avoid pregnancy too. happen. Okay, clear? We'll move on then. Okay, question number 14. Which of the following is a hormone releasing intrauterine device? Again, it's the third time I think we're coming across this question, and I guess this is important. So please learn the different types of IUDs. Okay, they can ask anything, of course, but whatever's present in NCERT, please learn all kinds of devices that are written there. Okay, in the textbook. This appeared in 2014. So the hormone releasing IUDs are either it's A multilo 375, which is incorrect. It's LNG20, yes. Cervical cap, no. Vault, no. So the answer is B. Again, I've discussed LNG20, so I'll not be discussing this in detail now. Okay, it's a hormone releasing IUD. Okay, question number 15. One of the following is not a method of contraception. Which one? Okay, and this appeared in Karnataka NEET 2013. You have A, condoms, B, pills of a combination of oxytocin and vasopressin, unlikely, C, lips loop, and D, tubectomy. Okay, so which of the following is not a method of contraception? You can clearly see it's pills of a combination of oxytocin, vasopressin, which is the right answer. The rest are all methods of contraception. Okay, so oxytocin, vasopressin don't play a role in contraception. Okay, so please remember that. It's actually estrogen and progesterone, which we'll come to later on. Okay, we study birth control pills. So the answer is B. So pills of a combination of oxytocin and vasopressin are not a mode of contraception. Okay, obviously they have other functions to perform in the body, but they don't play a role in contraception. So the combined contraceptive pills containing a combination of progestins, now levonorgestrel, we've already seen LNG20. So they're norethiosterone, desogestrel, they are all different progesterone, synthetic progesterones that are produced. Okay, they are present in those pills. And estrogen, which is ethinyl estradiol and mestranol. Okay, we can learn these names, but I'm just giving them for your information to understand what is actually happening. Okay, because you just need to understand that for NEET point of view, obviously when you study medicine, you'll need to study this in more detail, which I'm already giving you a heads up of what is going to come. But when it comes to NEET, from the exam point of view, which is our focus now, you just need to understand the combination of progesterone and estrogen. Okay, so levonorgestrel, you already are familiar with when you studied LNG20 also, which is a type of hormone releasing IUD and how it plays a role. Estrogen also is present there. So ethinyl estradiol or mestranol, they are all different types of synthetic estrogens present in the contraceptive pills. How do they work now? The mechanism. Okay, they inhibit ovulation. Okay, by causing a negative feedback, thus not allowing for release of gonadotropin releasing hormone and hence FSH and LH. So they affect the feedback loop. I've already explained this before when we studied in emergency contraceptives. They play a role in such a way that they maintain high levels of estrogen and progesterone in the body. Okay, so when there are little high amounts of estrogen and progesterone in the body, what happens is then gonadotropin releasing hormone thinks, the hypothalamus thinks, okay, there's enough of estrogen and progesterone in the body now. It's not my time to work and inform pituitary gland to release FSH and LH. So because of that, it inhibits ovulation. Okay, so this is how it works. It maintains a high level of estrogen and progesterone in the body, and so that disrupts that negative feedback. We know the normal physiology now, right? How it works in a menstrual cycle, normal menstrual cycle. But now we are coming around that way. Okay, we are disrupting the ovulation period, okay, slightly, okay, by increasing the levels of hormones in the blood. There's regression of glands, thus making the endometrium non-receptive to the embryo. Okay, so it affects implantation of the embryo of the blastocyst. So okay, and another way is they alter the cervical mucus, thus preventing sperm entry. So the cervical mucus becomes scanty. So because of that, sperm entry does not happen. Now alter the tubal mobility and hence change the tubal transport. Okay, and that also happens in IUDs, but also in these pills also they affect the tubal mobility. So these are some of the mechanisms by which how birth control pills work. Estrogen prevents FSH secretion and follicular growth. Okay, so yeah, that obviously inhibits ovulation, and progesterone prevents LH surge. So estrogen, this is how estrogen does. Okay, prevents FSH secretion and follicular growth. Progestin, that's a synthetic progesterone, they prevent LH surge. Okay, so we know that in a normal menstrual cycle, what happens? Estradiol, we saw a drop in estradiol. This is normal without any birth control pills or any manipulations done. Estradiol drops and you see a jump in the progesterone. Okay, if you go back and read human reproduction, watch my videos on that, I've explained menstrual cycle in detail. Progesterone drops and you see this LH surge happening. Okay, immediately there's a peak. Okay, there's a peak in the LH surge, and the LS surge only allows for ovulation to happen, but then all that is disrupted with the help of birth control pills. Okay, these are hormonal contraceptive pills, also known as birth control pills. But this is how combined contraceptive pills or birth control pills are used. Okay, this is the mechanism by which they avoid pregnancy, they inhibit ovulation, they prevent implantation of the blastocyst, or they also affect tubal mobility, the fallopian tube mobility. Okay, so these are some of the ways by which birth control pills or the contraceptive pills affect. All right. Okay, so I think we've answered this question, right? Okay, it's not the method. Of course, I've already answered this. Pills of a combination of oxytocin and vasopressin. Okay, this is incorrect. This is another method of contraception. All right, let's move on. Okay, question number 16. What is the figure given below showing in particular? It's appeared in 2012 and I've already shown a figure. This is taken from NCERT clearly. And what do you see here? You see a pair of ovaries here, you see a uterus here. So you know this is the female reproductive system, and so this whole tube, this long tube over here is the fallopian tube. So what is happening? Tubectomy is happening. Okay, so the answer is C. Answer is C. So tubectomy has happened here. I've already discussed tubectomy. So yeah, it's a surgical procedure wherein a small segment of the fallopian tubes is made on both sides and the cut ends are ligated. Okay, simple, it's a repetition. Okay, question number 17. Which one of the following methods is the most widely accepted method of contraception in India at present? Okay, and this appeared in 2011. Learn this as a fact. It's not cervical caps, it's not tubectomy, it's not diaphragms, it's actually IUDs. Okay, it's a widely used method in India. So the answer is D. So widely accepted contraceptive method in India used is IUD, intrauterine devices. Right, so like copper T or the hormonal IUDs that are there, these are the widely used methods. Okay, clear, let's move on. Okay, so question number 18. Copper ions released from copper releasing intrauterine devices. Okay, and what do? This appeared in 2010. A. Make uterus unsuitable for implantation. B. Increase phagocytosis of sperms. C. Suppress sperm motility. And D. Prevent ovulation. Okay, so we're looking at copper ions in particular. Okay, and they suppress sperm motility. Okay, that is C. So the answer is C over here. I would suggest you follow the text present in NCERT. So according to NCERT, obviously there are additional copper ion functions also, but I would suggest you follow NCERT, okay, when it comes to NEET. So copper ions suppress sperm motility and fertilizing capacity. Okay, this is a definition or a statement taken directly from NCERT. Okay. This was pretty direct. Yeah. We'll move on. So how does it do? It causes endometrial inflammatory response, which decreases sperm transport and impedes the ability of sperms to fertilize. Now, additional function of the copper ion is also to prevent implantation of blastocysts through enzymatic interference. Okay, so the copper ions are actually cytotoxic. They release cytokines, sorry, which are cytotoxic. Okay, but according to NCERT, I would suggest you follow what's written in the textbook. Okay, if you go back to our question, yeah, copper ions don't allow for implantation to happen also, but in this case they've also put C suppress sperm motility. IUDs also increase phagocytosis of sperms, but there's a clear statement in NCERT that it suppresses sperm motility and fertilizing capacity of sperm. So I guess the appropriate answer here would be C. Okay, let's move on then. Okay, so question number 19. Given below are 4 methods A to D and their modes of action 1 to 4 in achieving contraception. Select the correct matching from the 4 options that follow. This appeared in 2008. So let's look at A method. Let's do the match the following. A, the pill. Pill prevents ovulation. Condom, yeah, it prevents sperms reaching the cervix. Basectomy, it's the semen contains no sperm. And copper T prevents implantation, right? So copper ions also, there's an additional function to that, right? It's not just sperm impeding the sperm mobility and sperm fertilizing capacity. It can also prevent implantation. So you looked back at question number 18. Obviously that answer was appropriate if you follow NCERT. Okay, but you need to know this also, because now here they've said prevents implantation. Okay, so the answer over here would be A3. Okay, there are 2 options here. B1. Okay, A3, B1, C4. Yes, oops, sorry, C4 and D2. Okay, so your answer is C. Answer is C. All right. So pills prevent ovulation. Condoms are physical barriers and hence prevent the sperm from reaching the cervix. In vasectomy, sperms are not present in the semen. Yes, we already discussed vasectomy in detail. And copper T, copper ions prevent implantation of blastocysts through enzymatic interference. How they release cytokines which are cytotoxic. Okay, so these are the 4 methods. All right, let's move on. Question number 20. What is the work of copper T? This appeared in 2000. A, to inhibit ovulation. No. To inhibit fertilization. To inhibit implantation of blastocyst. Yes, that is also one of the functions. To inhibit gametogenesis. No, that's incorrect. Okay, so your answer over here should be B and C actually, yeah. There are 2 correct answers here. But we already discussed this. It inhibits fertilization, yes, we know that, but by affecting sperm motility and also the ability of the sperm to fertilize. It also inhibits implantation of blastocyst. This again, I would suggest you please note this down. This is not mentioned in NCERT, but you should know that. Causes phagocytosis of sperms, yes. The IUDs do that. They decrease sperm motility and fertilizing capacity of sperms. Yes, copper ions play a role in that. Copper ions prevent implantation of blastocysts through enzymatic interference. We already discussed this in detail previously. Alright, so this is a repetition of the information. Okay, I would suggest you note this down. This will help you understand. I've just made a list of what copper T does. Help you study for your exam. Okay, let's move on then. Question number 21. What is the work of progesterone which is present in oral contraceptive pills? This appeared in 2000. So what is the work of progesterone? We already discussed contraceptive pills, okay? The combination of estrogen and progesterone. So A, to inhibit ovulation, B, to check oogenesis, C, to check entry of sperms into cervix and to make them inactive, D, to check sexual behavior. So it inhibits ovulation. Okay, the LH surge does not happen because of high progesterone levels. So the answer is A. So progesterone prevents LH surge, okay, and hence ovulation does not take place. So you know the normal menstrual cycle that we know that works on a feedback loop, right? So if there's too much estrogen and progesterone present inside the blood, so gonadotropin releasing hormone will not function as it is, okay, and it will send a feedback loop saying that don't secrete LH and FSH. Okay, so estrogen affects FSH and progesterone affects the LH secretion. Okay, so LH surge will not happen, which eventually ovulation will not take place due to high amount of progesterone in the blood. Okay, so question number 22. Tablets to prevent male contraception contain, this appear in 1999, A, progesterone, B, LH, C, FSH, D, both B and C. Okay, so tablets don't contain LH and FSH, they contain progesterone. Okay. Answer is A. Okay, so combined pills contain combination of progesterone and estrogen. We've already discussed this in detail. Now there are progesterone only pills called POP which contain progestin. Okay, this is another type of pill. Now we looked at the combination, the combined pills, but we're also looking at progesterone only pills, POP. Okay, so it makes the cervical mucus thick and viscous, preventing sperm penetration. It causes atrophy of endometrial lining, thus preventing implantation of blastocyst. Okay, sorry. So these are the two ways by which progesterone only pills function. Okay, so question number 23. The most important component of the oral contraceptive pill is, this appeared in 98, A, thyroxine, no, B, luteinizing hormone, no, C, progesterone, yes, and D, growth hormone, no. So it's C, progesterone. Okay, so the answer is C. Yeah, so combined pills are there, combination of progesterone and estrogen. So progesterone suppresses LH surge. Now progesterone only pills, we already discussed this, it makes the cervical mucus thick and viscous, so prevents the sperm penetration, causes the atrophy of the endometrial lining, thus preventing the implantation of blastocysts. So the endometrial lining of the uterus is not suitable for the implantation of blastocysts to happen if there's atrophy or there's the cells are shrinking in size on the endometrial lining. Okay, so that's it. I guess I've answered this question. Yeah, it's progesterone. Okay, so we've come to the end of this video lecture, and I hope you've enjoyed today's video lecture, and I hope you've learned something new today. And so please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to MJ NEET Biology. I'm available on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. So do follow me there for more updates. The links will be there in the description box below. And I'll see you in the next video lecture, right? So bye.